Alright, so this is the giveaway reading. This is a spinning wheel of transformation reading for a very special someone out there who has supported my channel and participated in my most recent 1,000 plus subscriber giveaway. Thank you so much for supporting the channel, for your feedback, for the type of content you'd like to see from me, and thank you so much first and foremost, or most importantly, for giving me the opportunity to practice my skills and do a reading for you. I'm really excited. This is my first time putting a reading up there on the interwebs and doing this type of reading for someone long distance. This is really exciting. So, like I said, this is a spinning wheel of transformation spread, and I was just rereading your little blurb that you sent me, and I believe you used the phrase major life reset, and I could not agree with you more. It sounds like you have a lot going on, and I kind of filtered it through and down into 3 major categories that are all interrelated, of course. You have a change in your work coming up, which involves bringing the work home and reorganizing and relaunching it from home, so being a home-based kind of business, and also changing the nature of your work a little bit. You also have the expansion of your family, and you also have your studies, which you're thinking about incorporating into your work. So those are 3 major transformations, and so I think this spinning wheel of transformation reading is perfect. I hope that you gain some insight. Basically, the way I do readings, I'm not much of a predictive reader. I use the cards for introspection and reflection and for helping me gain insight into my life, into my own decision making. And so that's kind of how I'm going to approach your reading today. So before we jump into the reading, and while there's a loud motorcycle driving by, sorry for the car noises in the background if those pick up, but what are you going to do? But anyway, before we jump into the reading, let me just explain what we got going on here. Of course, we got my selenite candle holder, which I'm going to go ahead and light this little bad boy up just to set the mood, bringing in some enlightenment to this reading. Then we have this beautiful piece of quartz here. This quartz, I actually named him. He's the only crystal I own that I've named. His name is Gandalf. It's so fitting for his personality. He's just the wise wizard, and sometimes he hits you upside the head with his staff to get you to see the lesson. So he's very direct and insightful and wise, and most of the time patient with his lessons. And so I like to keep Gandalf around for those types of insights. I also have here a good, big, beautiful chunk of jasper, and this, I don't know if you work with the chakra system. For me, the chakra system is a really beautiful way to kind of think about different areas and aspects of my life in terms of my body. It really helps me to get back into my body and remember my physical health and how that is related to my mental health and well-being and my emotional health and well-being. And so this is definitely for me a root chakra stone. Just, man, every time I hold it, I feel like I'm being pulled back down and gently reminded of my root, my earth, my connection to the earth, and my own 2 feet in the earth. This stone is just, the first time I picked it up when I first saw it at the store, I tend to be very top heavy when it comes to my chakras, like very upper chakra heavy. Sometimes I get into my head and into the crown a little bit too much, and I forget about the root. And so the first time I picked this up in the store, it almost felt like I was a helium-filled balloon just being carried off into the air. And the stone was like someone's hands gently grabbing the string and pulling me back down to the earth. So this can really help with grounding and earthing, and just, I know there's a lot going on in your life right now, big decisions and that major life reset, as you put it, and so this can help help you find a sense of security and safety amidst all the transformations, right? Of course, we got some rose quartz for some self-love. Can never get enough of that. I have here some bloodstone as well. This is definitely, for me, both a heart chakra but also a sacral chakra stone. Definitely a reminder of self-love and taking care of the body, and also fertility. I work with this stone during my my moon phase, my bleeding time of my menstrual cycle, just to make sure I'm reconnecting with that, and making sure all of that is a-okay. And I know you mentioned, you know, expanding and growing your family, so I thought this was appropriate. Some bloodstone. I have some labradorite for some insight. And lastly, I have this beautiful piece of tiger's eye. And tiger's eye for me is kind of a combo stone between the sacral and the solar plexus. The sacral chakra, in relation to tiger's eye for me, is definitely that creative energy, that drive to create in the world. And I think that really vibes with your line of work, of course. But in combination with the solar plexus is how you choose to share yourself with the world. And I know you mentioned being burned out by how your work is going right now, and that's why you're seeking those changes. And I think tiger's eye can be a gentle reminder of, you know, why you're doing this in the first place. I know for me, I go through burnout a lot, and sometimes I get lost in just planning and strategizing and thinking and planning and organizing and strategizing. And sometimes I need a gentle reminder of, like, remember why you're doing this. Like, this is how you can best share yourself with the world, right? And that's the ideal for mostly everyone, I would think, in terms of career. We all want to find a career and a way through life in which we can best share ourselves with the world. And I think tiger's eye, and thinking about tiger's eye in terms of the sacral and the solar plexus chakras, is a really great way to remember that, that gentle reminder. So those are the energies we got going on. So let me make some room here, because this is a 9-card spread. So it's definitely going to require some room. And as far as decks go today, we are working with the Tarot of Pagan Cats. I am a lover of cats. Unfortunately, my partner and I, we can't adopt a cat because of all the transformations that we're both going through. Someday we will adopt our fur baby. But, you know, on top of loving this deck because of its cat imagery, I also really love this deck because you can really tell the artist understands cat behavior and different cat personalities, and they've blended that beautifully into Rider-Waite imagery. It's not necessarily a Rider-Waite clone, I wouldn't say that, but there's definitely heavy influences by the Rider-Waite. But sometimes I fear some animal decks, and this is probably just my own personal preference, some animal decks I find to be a little too kitschy or cheesy, and hey, I mean, who doesn't love a good kitschy deck, right? But the fear is that you might lose depth by favoring cuteness, if that makes sense. But I do not find that to be the case with the Tarot of Pagan Cats. I find that it gives really clear, direct readings, but also in-depth readings, and you can really mine these cards for some really great advice, you know, while also looking at cute cats. So I decided to go with this deck today. And let me just shuffle this a few more times until I feel it's right. Okay, this card wants to come out. Okay, so the first position we have is the current situation. And we have the King of Pentacles. So it's really interesting that an earth suit is the first one to jump out. And here we have this beautiful, comfortable cat with his pentacles surrounded by grapevines. And so it's really interesting that this is the first card to jump out, because I'd say that this is expressing confidence. I know you mentioned that in the information you sent me that you do recognize you have a lot going on, career change, family changes, studying that might also affect future career ambitions. But I would say it seemed to me that you sounded pretty confident in these transformations taking place. It's just sometimes they seem a bit overwhelming, right? Which is natural. I mean, just one of those three situations and transformations would be more than enough, but you have three going on. So I would say that this card is kind of a gentle reminder to remember the confidence you might have in those decisions. And if you do sometimes feel like you lack confidence in those decisions, this is a gentle reminder to build that. I believe it was in Condensed Chaos. I was reading that book by Phil Hine, probably close to a year ago, a few months ago at least. And he said something really interesting about confidence. And he said that confidence, we tend to make the mistake of thinking about confidence as something we have, like it's an inherent or an innate trait that you either have it or you don't. But he really encouraged his readers to think of confidence as a skill you can build. And so it's really interesting that this is the King, right? The highest court card, because this is kind of a sneak peek at how that skill of having confidence in these decisions, a decision to change your business, to change your work style, a decision to grow a family, a decision to study and maybe even have those studies affect how you do your business. This is a reminder and maybe even a sneak peek into the near future of how that skill of confidence can help you through all these different transformations that all affect and feed into each other, right? Okay, so the next card is what needs to be overcome or left behind as you go through these transformations in order to move forward. Ah, we have another Pentacles. It's also really interesting that the Pentacles are coming up right off the bat because a lot of these transformations, I mean, they have to do with your body and what your body is going to be going through as you expand and grow your family, but also your business, like very earth suit stuff, right? And so the Four of Pentacles, the number 4 in my mind is such a stable, almost static, I guess like the shadow side of 4, especially the Four of Pentacles, is being static, being stuck. So, I mean, that is just the antithesis of all of these transformations you have going on. And this cat, you see he's on his beautiful red velvet pillow, you know, he's like sitting high, he's comfortable, right? And so, of course, these transformations might require you to give up some of that comfort, right? In order to get the ball rolling, in order to make the changes possible. Comfort, and it's not just comfort as in like, oh, physical comforts or, you know, financial comforts, things are working out now, great, why would we change them? Those kind of thoughts. It's also the comfort of predictability. You know, sometimes we can just get into a routine or into a general flow in life, and then when we're starting to think about making changes to that routine or that flow, we might get some shadows popping up, or we might get some fears and some anxieties popping up, because we might be afraid of going into the unknown territory, right? Of change, because change means getting, like, the definition of change in this case is getting out of that comfort zone, right? It's venturing into the unknown, because what is known is comfortable, even though sometimes what is known, what we're used to, might also be static. It might also be holding us back. So I think that's a reminder to, you know, anytime those fears or anxieties might be popping up, to remember that it's okay to feel uncomfortable when going through these transformations. It's natural. We all go through those kinds of feelings. I know for my situation, moving abroad and all that, it's, my comfort zone is being obliterated as we speak. But I know it's for my highest good. It's not comfortable. I'm not happy about it all the time, but I know it's for my highest good. So that is what might need to be reevaluated, or just, you know, just to remember that those kind of feelings might be popping up, and that's okay. Okay, the third position is what needs to be embraced and integrated and developed. So this is your strengths, what you're already bringing to the table as you go through these transformations. And we have the sun. This is beautiful. I really love this card, and I love that the cat's eyes are closed, right? This is what I mean when I say that the artist really understands cat behavior and then uses that understanding to convey really rich meaning through the deck. I love that it's a cat basking in the sun. I think this is very much related to the current situation card, the King of Pentacles, whose eyes are also closed. It means a sense of peace and trust. Like, if you understand cat behavior, I almost sound like I'm the cat whisperer right now. But if you understand cat behavior, cats close their eyes around people that they trust when they know that they're safe, right? So I think this speaks to your understanding that these transformations you're going through, this really speaks to, especially these two cards together, to your trust in yourself. Sure, you might have some shadows or some fear of change pop up, which is completely natural, right? But I think you know that this is for your highest good. This is what you want, right? In terms of career, in terms of family especially. And it's okay to acknowledge that, right? It's okay to own that and to fall back on that in tough times when the fears might kick in. Just remember this trust you have in yourself and in these decisions, in these transformations that are already taking place, right? And take comfort in it. Okay. So the fourth position is a reflection of the first position because it is directly across from it. And so this kind of sheds some new light on the current situation, might give us a new perspective in light of everything that's already come up. It might show some unforeseen insights or outcomes about the situation. So let's see what the reflection is. The Ace of Wands. So this is directly across from the current situation. So immediately for me, in the Ace of Wands, just reading the imagery here, we have this cat up in a tree, and it's kind of a stereotypical cat thing to climb something and then not be able to get down from it. I think this speaks to some of the fears and anxieties you might still have about these transformations. especially about how some of the transformations are, once you go through them, it will be impossible to go back to how things were before. Especially, I'm especially thinking about the transformation that's going to take place when you expand and grow your family. Once that happens, there's no going back, right? And this also being the Ace of Wands, the wands to me are about journeys. These epic journeys that we go through life, very much thinking of the heroes, our own personal hero's journey or our fool's journey, right? We all go on these journeys of growth and spiritual discovery and growth and rediscovery and breaking down and breaking through and climbing those mountains in life, right? And so this being the Ace of Wands, it's the very first card. This is the beginning of these journeys that you're undertaking. And that's scary, right? Especially for those journeys that are, once they happen, there's no going back. Right? It is frightening. But just, I think this is kind of speaking to the relationship of these two cards. Just remember your trust in yourself. Right? Just remember that you got this, because this is what you want. Right? Once you decide for sure what you want. You can always, change your mind and modify the plans, right? But it is scary, but it's also exciting. Right? So I think the Ace of Wands is really speaking to and kind of calling back to the Sun and the King of Pentacles, and just, reminding you to remember that trust you have in your decision on these, epic transformations that you're going through. Okay. So, the fifth card is your allies, the energies that will work on your favor, what inspires you to transform and change, your allies and helpers. And so this card could be people in your life that will help you get through this. Or if you do work with the ideas of gods and goddesses, of energies, of spirit guides, whatever your paradigm is, this next message or card will kind of illuminate that. And we have the Queen of Chalices here. It's a beautiful card. So I think this again is speaking to, in terms of guides, who are the people, energies, or entities that can help you with emotional, processing your emotions as you go through these changes and transformations. I think that's the main question that this card is bringing up. Being that she's the queen, to me, I think of the queens as that empty void that is waiting to be filled, especially the cup, right? She is making room and time and space for emotional processing, right? For helping you through, speaking in terms of that card and this card, helping you through some of the darker times, the scary times, the anxiety-ridden times, when you need to take time to process those emotions. Because transformation is beautiful and important, but it's also scary. And so sometimes you need to take time to process that. So ask yourself, who are the people or the spirit guides that can best help you through that, right? This might be a call to, if you need it, to seek professional help. I have in the past, just talking it out in therapy, just to get things off your chest. This could also be a call to work with goddess energy, especially if you do work with that paradigm, to to feel like someone is kind of helping you and holding your hand through these major changes, especially in terms of emotions, like processing those emotions. I think, well, it's kind of my personal opinion, but I don't think people raised in Western cultures do a very good job of acknowledging emotions, or at least, man, I didn't get much help until I found my spiritual path to learn how to process these shadows or process emotions. I definitely needed to go and seek not only the help of my therapist, but also the help of my goddess to help me through my own transformations and tough times. So I think this is a prompt to help you kind of ask yourself, like, who are the people out there, or what are the energies out there that are going to help me process these emotions? Because that is important, because emotions can become a roadblock and get in the way of these kinds of transformations. And number 6 is where to find this help and guidance. So this will illuminate and shed some light on the previous card. Put these down here. So it's really interesting that these are both cups, and the 10 of Cups being just such a card of family. So a call to pay attention or remember the importance of processing these emotions. And where are you going to find it? This is the call to family. And of course, family is not just your blood family, right? It's also the people in your life that you trust, the people that know that the people that you know are going to answer the phone and listen when you need somebody to listen to. So I think, in addition to your spiritual work and working with whoever or whatever you work with in terms of spiritual work with emotions, I think it is important to remember you're not alone, right? It's okay to ask for help, okay? And this being such a card of family, this includes your partner, I would say, because in many aspects, your partner is going through these transformations right along with you. So just remember that, to lean on each other, right? But also to help, to work with the people in your life that you trust to process these emotions, to get through this together, right? That's a beautiful message. Okay, now we're going into the inner circle of the Wheel of Transformation. Some possible unforeseen outcomes of this transformation. So this is kind of a sneak peek at what you might find along the way of going through these transformations, or what might come to light at the end of these transformations. The Knight of Wands. I love that this is a cat riding a fox, and there's so much fire in this card. I love it. To me, in terms of unforeseen outcomes, this immediately makes me think of your business and how you would like to relaunch your business from home. This could be your business taking off. And I immediately think of the Ace of Wands here that we talked about, this kind of, this fear of starting out on this journey, on these transformations, and it is scary. But if you don't let the fear get in the way, I think you could look forward to your business and the changes you're looking to make in your business and your studies in relation to that taking off, right? Of all the knights, I find that the Knight of Wands, of the fire element, is the most active and energetic and proactive and forward moving. So the journey is worth going, is worth taking, right? Because things might be taking off for you. And number 8, this is one of my favorite cards in this spread. When times get tough, when you're struggling or losing hope, this card is going to help you through it. The Three of Swords. That's a very intense card for this particular position. I for me, this speaks to more of that emotional processing that we talked about with the Queen of Cups and the Ten of Cups here. This speaks to sometimes rational thinking and intellect and logic, that more swordsy air suit needs to be at the forefront. It needs to be put forward. I guess a better way for me to explain that is sometimes I know for me, when going through these sorts of transformations, emotions can kind of override my more air kind of thinking, my kind of measured, logical kind of thinking. And I think processing your emotions here and leaning on those you trust to get you through these transformations, it's going to help you keep that balance between the water and the air, between the emotions, because just like the water element, emotions can be beautiful and serene and fulfilling and fill your cups, right? But emotions could also be a tidal wave that can overpower you. And so this is a reminder to sometimes quell those waves, those emotions, so that way you don't lose sight of your plans, your goals, your logic, everything you've planned out for probably quite some time to get to where you want to go, so that things can take off. Right? Remember, and it's really interesting, this is very pentacle, this is the first sword card to pop up, and I think that's very telling. We got a lot of pentacle, cups, and wands, but this is the first sword card, and it's just a reminder to, keep things in balance, I find. The 3 also being a card or a number of transformation. This speaks to the importance of that kind of logical, rational thinking as you're going through these transformations, because confidence is important, right? And taking those leaps of faith and trusting yourself and emotional fulfillment are very important. But the logic here and the planning and the budgeting and all of that is important too. So that is going to help you through the tough times. And it's really interesting how we have these rain clouds raining down onto this cat. Rain being that water element, kind of getting this cat soaking wet. You don't want to be the soaking wet cat, right? You need those that air suit, that logical thinking also. So that is going to help you through the tough times. And now the last card is, how does this transformation, or in your case, these transformations in the plural, serve your highest good? And we have the 4 of Cups. This is really interesting. A lazy, comfortable cat with 3 cups filled here, and then the 4th one coming. And I know the 4 of Cups can sometimes speak to frustrations or losing sight on things, or being focused so much on what you might already have, or losing patience for that 4th cup to be filled. But here, I think that, especially since the cup is being brought to the cat on a sea turtle, I don't know if you can see that, sea turtle bringing the 4th cup to the cat. And the cat is in a very relaxed, kind of sleepy pose. The sea turtle to me speaks to that emotional fulfillment and that spiritual fulfillment that the cups can represent as well. I think these transformations are ultimately going to help you feel fulfilled in your life, right? But most especially in terms of the spiritual and the emotional, right? That sense of through your business, that is how you express yourself and your your spirit to the world. And also in terms of that expansion of your family, that is another way to contribute to the world, right? So I think that these transformations, I keep forgetting to put it in plural because you have so much going on. These transformations are important. I think that you already have a good idea of what you want and how you're going to get there. It's just sometimes getting there is scary, but just remember that logical thinking, the importance of planning and budgeting and scheduling and all those kind of logistics that need to happen in order for that fulfillment to come, in order for all your cups to be filled, so that you can enjoy that stability that comes with the 4. Does that make sense? Well, thank you so much. We're already at 35 minutes, so I'm going to end that here. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to use you as a guinea pig, so to speak, and practice with this reading. This has been a really beautiful reading. I think it's really positive. I don't really like using that positive versus negative kind of language, but I think this reading, it points to, I think, what you want, if that makes sense. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to email me. Let me know how I did. If you have any feedback for me, I hope that you were able to gain some insight through this reading. And thank you so much for supporting my channel. I'm so appreciative of that, and many blessings. Bye.